Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of October. I can't believe we have 2 months left in the year. That's crazy. But anyway, it's a gloomy rainy day. So let's just sit and talk about the books that I read this past month. This is a realistic October reading wrap up. I read 9 books. Actually a pretty good reading month. I had 2 5-star reads, a bunch of 4.5 and 1 3-star. So I think it was a pretty good reading month. All of the books I enjoyed, I liked. I didn't DNF any books. The first book that I read this month was actually an audiobook, You Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This book was a 3-star for me. Now let me just say this. 3 stars is not a bad rating for me. It's just 3 stars. You know, it's not bad. It's not great. It was just like, I read it. It was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. This was a novella. And I believe it's audio only. Like I said, this is a quick novella. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'll read anything that Ali Hazelwood writes. And I know a lot of people say that her books are all like the same, just in different fonts. I think that's the same. And you know what? I'll eat it up every time. And if you like Ali's books where her main male characters are down bad, pathetically down bad for the female main characters, you're gonna love this one. Basically, the 2 main characters are like in the video game industry. They design video games and they're both in different companies. But for this one game, they have to come together and like basically work together. They're both arch enemies, so there's some tension going on there. And you can see where this is going. The tension of working together, forced proximity. This one was good, quick. I think it's like a 4-hour audiobook. Okay, so the next book that I read is A Binding 13. This book was a 5-star. It took me a very long time to pick this up. I know probably a lot of people have read this already. If not all, most people have read this book. But I was just scared to read this because I know that it could be an emotional and deep romance. And it was, so check trigger warnings if you think that's something that you need to check. This is a high school sports romance, but it has more of a deep plot to it. Shannon, our main character, she goes through a lot of trauma at home, at school, and it's just, she ends up going to this new school because it gets so bad at her old school that she needs to move. This is where she meets Johnny, and I said this in my reading vlog, but it's crazy how Shannon needed Johnny in her life and he's just there for her. Like since the beginning, this man is there for her. Not only did I love the plot, but like the relationship between them two was the most like perfect like high school romance. They need each other. I feel like not a lot happened. It was very character driven. Like obviously she moves to the school, she meets Johnny. Like it wasn't until like kind of the end where it started to pick up plot wise, and it was stuff. I loved Claire and Gibbsy. I'm excited to get to their book. I know they have a book. Every time they would come up, I'm like underlining. So good. Gibbsy is so like unhinged at times, but it's like funny unhinged. They're such comfort characters. All of like the whole friend group. It's just, I really can't wait to read the next one. And I'm just like, if you haven't read this one, please pick it up. I know it can be a little bit emotional, but if you're in the mood for something different, not like your fluffy, cute romance, definitely pick this one up. Then I did a reread of A Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book is a 4.5 star for me. I love these characters. I love this book. Another comfort book. I feel like I can reread this book so many times. It's just going to hit like every single time. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what this book is about. January and Gus are next door neighbors, but they're both like enemies, you could say, arch enemies. Like they're both writers. She's a romance writer, he's like a fiction writer, and they decide to help each other because they're kind of both like in a rut. And so they come up with this bet where they have to write each other's genre, and in order to do so they have like little dates to like brainstorm. So she'll take him on like cute little romantic dates so he can get inspo for his book, and then he'll take her research for like the fiction book that she's writing. But it's a lot more deep than that. She's going through stuff, he's going through stuff, and you kind of see that in them and stuff. But yeah, I always enjoy this one. 4.5. Okay, then I picked up Cash by Jessica Peterson. This is a small town cowboy romance. I gave this a 4-star. I was really in the mood for a cowboy romance, so I picked this one up. I enjoyed it. It was really good. This book takes place in a small town in Texas. It's actually a series, Lucky River Ranch series. So I know I'm gonna read the next book. Just, I don't know when. Whenever I'm in the mood for a cowboy romance, I'll pick it up. Premise of this book is Molly, her father passes away, so she inherits like his ranch in the small town in Texas. And she's been a city girl like most of her life. She used to live in this ranch, but when her parents divorced when she was really little, her mom took her to the city, so she's been there her whole life, and she didn't really have a relationship with her dad. But now he leaves her his ranch and like her inheritance. Kind of needs the money because she has a cowboy boot company in the city, so she decides to go. But they tell her that in order to get like her money and everything, she has to stay at the ranch for a year. But she really needs the money, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna stay here for like a month, get some other money, and then maybe I can get out of the rest of the year. She ends up going, and obviously Cash is here. He works at the ranch, and so they see a lot of each other. They actually knew each other when they were little, but obviously she left. They're working together. The community in this ranch is so cute and wholesome. All his brothers, like, I love them. But yeah, if you're in the mood for a small town romance with a cowboy, definitely pick this one up. Next, we're going with a 5-star read, A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. This book surprised me so much. I was not expecting a 5-star. I got this book sent to me by the author, and when I picked it up, I was actually in the mood for a fantasy romance, so I think I read it at the perfect time. So this is a fantasy romance with magic, fae, dragons. This is book 1. I think it's a trilogy, but basically this book, there's kind of like a war going on, and our main character Arwen, she's trying to escape with her family, and she actually gets captured by the opposing territory, but she has healing powers, so the king uses her for healing and stuff. She ends up meeting this guy there who in the cell next to her, and right away they have like this connection, like you can feel this tension, and I was just eating it up. This man was so mysterious. I wanted to read more. I wanted to see more of them together. I don't want to talk much about the plot because the less you know, the better. She's trying to get out of this kingdom, and she's obviously, she doesn't want to be there. She wants to be reunited with her family, but it's gonna be hard to get out of here. And so she asks the guy to help her, and it's just, I feel like I'm not explaining it very well, but I promise you this is so good. Pick it up, please. I beg you to pick this up. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and I still find myself thinking about this book, and I think I'm gonna pick up the next one very soon. It's just, I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, then I read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. This was a 4-star. It's just like a cute fluffy romance. So this is a small town romance. I did like this one a lot more than the first one, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This one had a lot more depth to it. So the two main characters have had like a crush on each other for a while now, and they never like did anything about it because they're like completely opposites. He's like very outgoing, flirting with girls. Like, she's like the quiet girl, worked at the bookshop. She ends up finding clues in books in the bookstore. Someone will highlight something in the book, and they're basically clues for stuff for her to do because she feels like she's like so stuck in her life, nothing fun, nothing going on. She's just decides to take these clues and like do them, and she ends up asking the guy to help her. So it's kind of like bucket list, but not bucket list, you know. They have like these things that they need to do, and so they'll do it with each other. It's just so cute seeing the little things that they do. Our main character, she's very relatable. She's a reader. If you're looking for something like a palette cleanser, this is good. And I read the first book in the Sinner's Duet. I only have the special edition copy, but I read There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, and I rated it a 4-star, but honestly I rated it a 4 mostly for the plot than the romance. I'm not typically a dark romance reader, so crime, thriller, serial killer romance. So our main character Cole, he's a serial killer, and our female main character is an artist. They're both artists, but he's also a serial killer, and so like they run in the same world of the arts. She ends up in his radar for something that happens. I'm not gonna mention what. Well, this guy is he's crazy. He's literally crazy. He gets so obsessed with her. He's like stalking her, watching her. He gets so possessive and protective of her. Like if he was a real life man, like, do not come near me. But it's fictional, so that's okay, right? The whole plot of it was interesting. I really just wanted to know what was gonna happen. I was really curious on how the relationship was going to come together. The whole serial killer plot really had me interested and hooked. The last, I don't know, like 20%, like the conflict, really has me intrigued to read the next one. I'm not gonna lie, like the first half, I really didn't think I was gonna pick up the next book, but now I really want to know what happens, because you kind of get left with a cliffhanger and there's no closure. I think I'm gonna pick up the next one. The artwork in here was so good. There's like art pieces, and you can see it on the Kindle version as well. If you like a dark romance, serial killer, possessive, psychotic male character, read this. Okay, then I picked up Cross the Line. This is an F1 romance, cute, fluffy, brother's best friend slash best friend's little sister. It is forced proximity. He's going through a social media crisis. She's looking for a social media job, but he ends up hiring her. Basically, she's doing like all the content for him and like restoring his image. Like, I enjoyed it. I think it was cute. I definitely needed this after reading There Are No Saints. I don't know, I didn't like fully connect with them, but I liked the whole story and plot. And yeah, that's really, I don't really have much to say about this one. Would I recommend? Yes, of course. Wait, now for the last book that I read in the month of October. The last book that I read in the month of October is Two Twisted Crowns, which is book 2 in Shepherd King Duet. This is a fantasy romance. I'm not gonna say much about the plot of this one because this is book 2. I don't want to spoil anything. Basically, my thoughts for this one, I really like the magic system in this series. The whole idea of both books is that our main characters and like the group that they're working with are looking for the Providence cards, which are these magical cards, and they're trying to put them together in order to lift the mist in this kingdom. But obviously there's people against them, like the magic. It's just really interesting. The characters, I will say, romance wise in this book, didn't get much of the original couple just because of the whole thing going on, which I'm not gonna say. Ione and Elm carried the romance in this book. I was not expecting that, but they are so cute. I love them. I love Elm. I think they carried. I love that we got Elm's point of view as well, because he's always waiting for his point of view chapters, and I was eating it up. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this whole duet really closed out really well. The second book had a lot of action. This was a 4.5 star for me. I think I read most of it in a day. So if you haven't picked it up, definitely pick this series up or this duet up. I feel like it deserves all the hype that it gets. For all of the books that I read in the month of October, I read 9 books total. Most of them were physical copies. I did read 2 on the Kindle. I feel like I had a really good reading month. Also, I want to mention that I finished my entire October TBR this month. But speaking of TBR, my November TBR looked amazing. Like, I feel like every single book on it I will love. I'm so excited about it, and I really hope that I can finish it just like this month. If you haven't watched my November TBR video, definitely go watch it and tell me if we're reading any of the same books. But also let me know if you want to see any of those books in a reading vlog, because I'll do it. I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got some book recommendations. I'll see you next time. Bye.